Well, I've done it for Nintendo and I've done it for PlayStation, so I should probably round this series out with Xbox. Seeing as Microsoft is the newcomer to the console space, relatively speaking, there's less to cover here. To avoid this being a very short video, I'll be doing the top 3 most expensive games for each Xbox console. Like my other videos in this vein, my prices will be based off of the going rates on pricecharting.com in US dollars at the time of writing this script in the summer of 2024, so details are obviously subject to change. First up is Microsoft's first foray into the console gaming space, the original Xbox. Coming in at number 3, we've got Outrun 2006 Coast to Coast. If you've never played an entry in Sega's long-running arcade racing series Outrun, I'd suggest you give it a try, so long as you aren't looking for a more realistic sim-like experience. This very arcadey, sometimes over-the-top racer is a ton of fun to just pick up and play. Currently going for $130 loose or $275 complete in box, this classic continues to rise steadily over time. If you've even casually looked into desirable Xbox games in the past several years, our number 2 spot will hardly come as a surprise. Futurama is considered a grail pickup for many original Xbox collectors, mostly due to its short print run. Although the gameplay itself isn't particularly highly regarded, the game is essentially its own unique episode of the beloved Futurama show, and is the only official way for you to experience it. The current going rate is $192 loose and $232 CIB. In the number 1 spot, we've got none other than the legendary Steel Battalion. To experience this game as intended, you'll need to make sure you've got the unique controllers that originally were sold with it. That's right, controllers, plural. This mech fighter borders on a sim-like experience with its comprehensive control scheme, featuring 2 joysticks, 3 foot pedals, a dial, a lever, multiple lights, and 40 buttons. At the beginning of each level, the player must start up the machine and operating system. This is handled through a series of switches and buttons dedicated to this purpose. If a corner is turned too fast, the machine will tumble over. If the player's machine overheats, its operating system must be reset. The game even simulates window wipers in case of mud hitting the monitor. If the player does not eject when prompted, the player's in-game character will die, and the game will delete its own save data, prompting the player to start over from the beginning. Talk about an intense gameplay experience not for the faint of heart. If you're interested, the whole setup goes for $320 loose and $437 complete in box. The Xbox 360 was the first console to support high definition across its entire library. While it doesn't seem that old of a machine to me, it's starting to get some titles creeping up in price now that it's a couple of generations back. Our third most expensive game may surprise you. It's Madden 2009, but specifically copies sold with the breast cancer awareness slipcover, which was offered in Target in October of 2008 in the United States. The game itself is not different in any way, it's just this special slipcover that makes it rare and valuable. It's currently going for $252 loose and $338 CIB. Number 2 was kind of surprising to me because it really wasn't that long ago that this kind of game and accessory were considered worthless. But now the seemingly never-ending deluge of music games is squarely in the rearview mirror. Guitar Hero World Tour has shot up in price. Specifically, the bundle that included the instruments and microphone, this window into a bygone era is selling for a whopping $290 loose and $375 complete in box. Remember when GameStop wouldn't even consider buying your guitar accessory for 25 cents due to the sheer amount that we're getting? Clearly those days are over and music games are becoming coveted in collectors' circles. Sitting at the very top of our number 1 spot of the Xbox 360 is another variant of a popular game, Call of Duty World at War. Not the copy you've got on your shelf though. This is the so-called box set version that came bundled with a DVD copy of the World War II movie Enemy at the Gates. It can be yours for $372 loose or $500 complete in box. The Xbox One is in a weird position, with many games still being released for it well after its successor was on store shelves, and Game Pass subscriptions being such a big part of Microsoft's strategy for this generation. As a result, the list of exclusive games, or physical games at all, is shorter than the previous consoles on this list, with the most expensive being so just because they're big box special editions of cross-platform titles. In third place, we have the collector's edition of Titanfall 2, which came bundled with a helmet, a dog tag that doubles as an 8GB flash drive, a pilot field journal, and some squad morale patches, in addition to the same game cosmetics included in the digital special edition of the game. If you can find this bundle, it goes for $535 loose and $595 complete. Second place is kind of weird, and I couldn't really find much of an explanation for it. My hunch is that this color variant was made in smaller quantity, or perhaps only sold at one specific retailer. It's the red version of the Rock Band 4 bundle, featuring the drums and guitar in a red color instead of the usual black. This came out at a time when the market was totally oversaturated by music peripheral games, and the fad was about to come to an end. Today, this bundle goes for about $600, with not a noticeable price difference between loose and CIB. Personally, the number one spot is pretty silly to me, but maybe this is actually a really cool thing to someone out there. The Sea of Thieves print that came with a DLC code for the Ferryman clothing set in-game. Apparently the only way to get this clothing set was with this special physical version, or if you purchased the limited edition Xbox controller. So the exclusivity has skyrocketed the price of this game with an unused code in it. Today it's worth $607 loose and $653 CIB. Finally, we have the current generation offering from Microsoft, the Xbox Series X. Specifically the X, since the Series S doesn't even have a disk drive. Keep in mind that this is the list that will be subject to the most change as time goes on, and my top 3 here are certainly going to be out of date if you're watching this in a year from now. As such, I won't linger for too long on these ones. At number 3, we've got a game I honestly hadn't heard of before researching this video. It's a special edition of a game called Atlas Fallen, which comes bundled with a numbered wood print and a certificate signed by the art director. Apparently, it's a monster slaying RPG that was warmly received by critics, released in August of 2023. This edition of it can be yours for $333 loose or $384 complete. Number 2 is the collector's edition of Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. It's an Ubisoft title, so I honestly don't want to give it the time of day. Please leave my country, you're a disgrace, and I hate you. This version of Avatar comes with a statue, art book, steelbook, field notebook, and a set of 3 lithographs. It goes for $366 loose and $423 CIB. You couldn't pay me to put this on my shelf. Finally, to wrap up this console and this video, we have a special edition of the highly regarded Armored Core 6 Fires of Rubicon, which comes with a downloadable soundtrack, statue, stickers, pins, and an art book. It can be yours for $368 loose or $425 complete. And that's the end of this video. Do you have any of these titles in your collection? Are you maybe looking to pick one of them up? Let me know in the comments below. As always, I'm Crispy Johnson. Thanks for watching.